All right, looks like we're live. So we are back again for week 5. This week, the Chargers are playing the Oakland Raiders in Oakland. Always an interesting matchup with Chargers and Raiders, but this this is going to be more of the same, I would assume, of the last couple of years, with how the Chargers have played in the division.
I sadly agree.
Yeah.
This is Daniel Stebbins at these Stebbs on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I jumped right into it. I'm Matthew Stanley at Bolt Fan in Denver. I am Stebbs, are you let's start with drinks since I've already started today with drinks.
Ballast Point Pumpkin Down.
Ooh, okay. I actually was at Great American Beer Fest all day today and yesterday, and I was just at the Ballast Point booth and had some of their red velvet oatmeal stout.
How is that, by the way?
It is super good.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the tap room when last time I was in San Diego, but I've had it 2 years in a row now at GABF, and it was awesome.
Gonna have to try that one.
I also had Belgian Beaver today, which is one of my favorites.
Nice.
But right now I'm drinking a Tommy Knocker Nut Brown.
Awesome. Never heard of it.
It's kind of a local beer out here, like it's Colorado stuff.
Gotcha.
All right, so let's start with last week, like usual. Last week was rough, but I don't think any of us were surprised when it happened.
With the horrible collapse, no, I definitely am not surprised by it. Disappointed, sure. I know personally at the end of it, I couldn't do anything but laugh. Really, it was just terrible to lose in that fashion. 2 horrible fumbles with less than 7 minutes to go. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I could, but I couldn't believe it happened in that way.
Yeah, and
that hurt.
I took that one hard because of so I was traveling last weekend and I was down in Arizona, and waiting to go to the airport while the game was on, and about the third quarter we started boarding the plane, and so last I saw we were up, and so we get up to like 10,000 feet, and I'm considering getting out my laptop, and I'm like, man, I kind of want to see what's going on in the game. The $8 or no, it was $4 for on Southwest they have a red zone option, and so red zone went to it for like the last couple minutes of the game of the fourth quarter. And so
man,
I paid $4 to watch the Chargers just give the game away.
That hurts.
The only reason I didn't lash out is because I didn't want the inconvenience of getting on the no-fly list.
Chargers almost bad enough to put people on the no-fly list. That's a new low.
It was rough. But yeah, it was just, I hate that it was more of the same. I hate that we weren't overreacting when we said this is just going to keep happening. If there isn't a change made at some level, it's just going to happen over and over and over again.
It's almost freaky. The what it took to make this happen is insane. I've never seen something like this before consecutively. You have a freak thing that happen every now and then, but to have it happen every week, just it hurts, man. I've never seen something like this before. I don't know. I honestly don't even know how to respond after seeing something like that happen repeatedly. It just hurts.
Yeah, I mean, and I know a lot of people don't want to blame McCoy for this, but when it's something that repeatedly happens like this, when it's not the fact that it's happening now, and people keep taking specific instances like snapshots in time, like how this week it was more of the players on the field executing again. I mean, those 2 fumbles were inexcusable, but it's a pattern that continues to happen over time and without any change. And so that's the scary part, and that's why a change needs to happen. But I saw the point multiple times this week that, it, it might not be the best thing to get rid of him until the end of the season, because with the way the Chargers are run above the coaching level, if McCoy gets fired and Pagano or Wiz gets promoted, even interimly, the Spanishes will just keep him on and say, they didn't have enough time to show, what they could do, so let's give them another year.
Yeah, I know Garrett and Jamie discussed that at length on their podcast, and I agree. That's definitely a concern. When you have someone like Wiz who has the coaching experience, they could easily just fall back to something like that. Well, he took his team to the Super Bowl, or you look at Pagano, who's been with the team now through a couple of coaches, who obviously has his brothers in the league as a coach. I know you're not supposed to. That doesn't have any correlation, but it does in some people's minds. And with as bad as the Chargers decision makers seem to be, it might with them. So I don't know. I am concerned with that happening, but at the same time, short term, I just really want McCoy gone. But it is tough to kind of play that line there of do you get rid of him now? Do you get rid of him at the end of the season?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just want him gone in 2017, whether that's now or at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something the team would probably do. I think that they'd want to maximize the impact at the ballot box of the goodwill move. But at the same time, that argument isn't super true, as far as I think most of the people that are Chargers fans are pretty much going to vote yes anyway. And I don't know how many extra votes that would gain them, I mean, everyone would love the move, but I don't know how much it would impact the vote. But it's a very Chargers thing to think about, and a move that I could see them making.
I know this isn't a political podcast, but I just would like to say that I like to think that they wouldn't be swayed by something like that. However, people in mass, not individually, but in mass, typically don't make the best decisions for the best reasons. So I could see something small like this swaying someone who's just voting either out of spite or out of pure pleasure of having him gone. I'm not saying it'd be enough to sway the vote. And again, I don't know enough about San Diego politics to even speak about any of that. But I could see people voting one way or the other because of that. Not saying a large amount, but some.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, either way, at this point, it's hard to say. I hope that the ship gets righted. I mean, it's a weird position to be in. I don't know about you, but like being a Chargers fan and not wanting them to win it's one of those moral gray areas that's just it's really frustrating sometimes.
It is, and we kind of felt that last year. At least a lot of Chargers fans did at the end of the season. When do you want to lose? Like, are you rooting for the team to lose to up the draft position when it was clear they weren't doing anything postseason and beyond? During the week, I'd find myself saying, I hope they don't pull out this win. I hope that X, Y, and Z happen. Better the odds of McCoy leaving, get a better draft position, so on and so forth. But on Sunday, I found myself still rooting for the team to win. So it was just one of those things where it's easy to say it, but when you're in the moment, I'm still a Charger fan, and you still like to see a team win. It still kind of feels good, even if it is ultimately the worst situation to have happen. So yeah, it is kind of a weird juxtaposition there.
Yeah. All right.
But just kind of last week, the game itself, as bad as the ending was, clearly, there was some very good football being played in between the beginning and 7 minutes to go. So, seeing Hunter Henry get his first touchdown, I thought was fantastic. He had, a solid game blocking and receiving, no fumbles. He's currently averaging over 15 yards a catch, which is just fantastic, especially for a rookie.
Yeah.
But also kind of going more into the running game, Gordon, yes, he had 2 touchdowns, but just something to kind of watch. He's only had 71 yards on 35 carries in the last 2 games, barely averaging 2 yards a carry at that. So it's really kind of curious to see if he's going to get going rushing yards per attempt. Again, that's not just purely on him. Of course, Dunlap's been out the last 2 games.
Right.
There's been some issues along the offensive line. They've played some decent players on the defensive lines too. So It's not
Yeah,
just on him.
yeah, and the other thing I heard about that too, I heard as an explanation of that, and I think it was one of the Pro Football Focus guys, is they were saying that part of what is driving down Gordon's yards per carry is that the majority of his rushing attempts are inside the red zone. So you don't have as much room to work with there, and that definitely would hinder a larger yards per carry.
Good point. Also, one thing to kind of look at is he is having a decent year receiving so far, especially the last two games. I believe 40 yards each game. And of the players with 7 or more targets on the Chargers, he has the highest catch percentage of any other Charger at 76%. He's catching at a high rate. Now they are shorter passes, but when you look at guys like Tyrell and Inman, who people love Tyrell and don't really like Inman as much, but they're both at 57% each, which is just not a number you want to see continue on throughout the year.
Yep.
Just one thing to kind of look out for there. And Inman, can we talk about that 3rd and 22 drop? I mean, that was atrocious. I know it was a last gasp drive anyway, but 3rd and 22, and it was a first. It was a first if he caught it.
Right.
Oh, that hurt.
Yeah, and it sucks too for someone who's having his best game as a pro.
By far, yeah.
I think it was his first 100-yard game, right, of his career.
I believe so. He had a really good game week 16, I think, 2 years ago against San Francisco.
Yeah, they showed that, and that was his previous high, and I think it was like 77 yards. So this week was outside of that catch, this was definitely his best game as a pro.
For sure, and it was nice to see that early on, but that seemed to mostly come early on in the game too, though, like first quarter or so.
Yeah, he had a couple of big gainers, like the touchdown.
Yeah. One other thing I really want to touch on, though, is the drive that ended the 3rd and began the 4th was really a thing of beauty. It was 14 plays, 6.5 minutes. I thought at that point, okay, this team's actually going to pull this out. Like as the clock's coming down, they're not playing badly; they're playing well. Yeah. And to have it just completely go to shit after that was disheartening. But that was a nice drive, just to point out a positive. But
yeah. Then the last thing I really had to talk about was just Travis Benjamin's fumble was far more inexcusable. It was much more inexcusable than Gordon's fumble. I mean, Gordon's fumble looked pretty legitimate. Travis Benjamin literally just turned, saw somebody there, and dropped the ball. He's, nope, I don't want it.
It reminded me almost, minus the injury, of a number of years back. I want to say it was Santonio Holmes on the Jets. He goes down with an injury and just tosses the ball down. Like it was the most weird thing to see. It made no sense, and he just completely dropped it.
I haven't seen a fumble that bad on the Chargers since oh dang, what's his name? Dang, I had his name before this started. Richard Goodman. Richard Goodman's first reception as a Charger when he caught the ball against the Patriots, and then just after, like he tripped the turf monster got him, and then he just puts the ball on the ground like, yeah, first down, my first catch. I just went for 20 yards, and the Patriots just pick it up and start running it back. What?
Oh man, Vincent Jackson did something like that too. I think his second year he did that against the Raiders too. So, but yeah, it was crazy to see that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know about your bold predictions or Garrett's, but I know all three of mine were off. But Rivers had a really good passing game. I said he'd have over 400. I was short on that. I said 3 picks on the defense. They got 2, and then I had Tyrell goes over 100, and that wasn't even close. So those are my bold predictions. Then my 41-20 score for the Chargers was So.
Yeah, I don't think I hit any of mine either. I think I forgot even what I said. I think on defense I said something like 3 team interceptions and 3.5 sacks, and I think I came close on that one. We had 2 interceptions and 3 sacks.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. That one by Ingram that almost was a safety was nice too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So. That's pretty much. Did you have anything else about the Saints game?
No, other than I'd like to forget it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's definitely time to jump to this week. So moving into this week, Chargers are going to the Raiders. Raiders are 3-1. Chargers. Do you remember what the last time the Chargers won in Oakland was?
I actually do not know.
It's been a couple of years. I looked it up earlier, but I don't have that tab up anymore. Like I
Oh,
said,
okay.
I've been drinking all day.
It
But it's
it
been
happens.
and the Chargers are now without Jason Verrett as well. That's why I didn't want to talk about it in the last game, but when talking about the last game, Jason Verrett is out for the season. Apparently, he played the last 2 games with a torn ACL.
Insane.
No wonder he got destroyed by T.Y. Hilton. But I still am watching that replay of this week when he tipped it and Major picked it off. He did that on a torn ACL. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, the fact that he was still a serviceable corner at all while having a torn ACL for 2 weeks is insane. I do wonder if it did happen during that special teams play that no one seems to understand why in the world he was even in the game. But I do wonder if it happened then. Obviously, we don't know, but he was definitely gimpy when he got up from that hit. So it's just really disheartening to see that. I mean,
yeah, that was on that punt, right? The one that Benjamin muffed.
Yes, exactly. He went to go recover the fumble, and someone came in and made a tackle and made a play for the ball, and he came up a little limping a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He still finished up the game and obviously played last week, but it's just a shame to lose the best player on the defense. It hurts.
Yeah, it really hurts. I mean, that's the whole reason the Chargers lost the Colts game is because their best player on offense, Rivers, had a bad day, and Verrett, their best player on defense, had a bad day, and now Verrett won't even have bad days anymore for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So you lose 1 first-round pick, and then we gain a first-round pick this week with Joey Bosa going to see his first game action.
Very excited for that, for sure. He's
Go
ahead.
You go ahead.
I was saying, he's having has some practices in a row now consecutively. He hasn't been limited for I think the last 2 weeks, so hopefully he can get out there and make a difference in that running game because they could definitely use that, and maybe even get a little bit of a pass rush going because we've had none really. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, if everything that the Chargers and Joey Bosa's camp have said about him loving football is true, I think he's going to come out and have a really impactful, 10, 15 snaps in passing downs.
Yeah, I fully expect there to be anywhere from 10 to 20 snaps. In general, I don't know about just running or snap or passing downs, but I would definitely see about 10 to 20 snaps overall. Kind of ease him in. He hasn't seen game time in a while, so you don't want to. Yeah, especially with the luck we've had this year, you don't want to see anything happen. So
right, yeah, I mean it's almost been since 2015 since he's seen the field because he got ejected on the first defensive series of his bowl game.
It was the first defensive series, which was an incredible series by him, and it was kind of a ticky-tack call. But
it was a ticky-tack call. I remember that.
But he saw a little bit of the field in minicamp, but that was it. And after that, he hadn't seen anything until practice a few weeks ago. So it's gonna be interesting to see what kind of level he's at physically and stamina wise too. So
yeah, and just to see how they you'll kind of be able to tell how well he's picked up the playbook depending on what plays they leave him in for. How many plays he's in for.
Definitely. If he's going to have some success too, I mean, if he's lining up over on the right tackle side of the ball, just to kind of dive into that a little bit, that is really the only weak spot of this Oakland offensive line is that right tackle. Everyone else is stellar. So it's going to be interesting to see if he is strictly on that side, how much success he does or does not have on whoever in the world they're going to start at right tackle, whether it's Vedal Alexander or whoever else they have there. So.
Yeah, but it's exciting to finally get him on the field. It's exciting to finally see what kind of impact he's going to bring and finally answer the question that we've all been asking of how he's going to be used in the defense. Because he's not really he's kind of one of those tweeners but he's overpowered and can kind of make up for it on the line. Whereas I don't think he's athletic enough to put out on an island at outside linebacker.
Agree completely. It's going to be something that Pagano's had a long time to think of schemes or think of ways to fit him into this defense. And so we'll have to see how he does that. I'm sure we'll have plenty of reactions to deal with next week whenever we talk about this game. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how they use him.
Yeah. Yep. So on offense, Gates. Let's dive into injuries and then we can go into that.
Sounds good.
So this week, Adai still out all week. Obviously, his clavicle is still healing. He did have surgery, though, right?
He did. I believe he had it. Was it this last
Almost
week?
right away.
Oh, okay, no, yeah, 2 weeks ago then. Okay.
Yeah. So he's out again this week. Joe Barksdale was limited Wednesday and Thursday, went full on Friday, and he's questionable for the game. It'll be rough to be without both of them again. So without both the tackles again. So really hope Barksdale plays. Joey Bosa was full all week. He's not even listed, so he's a full go. King Dunlap was still recovering from migraines, and he's listed as questionable for the game and was actually a full participant on Friday.
They're not related to concussions, though. Okay.
Yeah, no,
they're not related.
They're just migraines. Don't worry about his 5 concussions or 4.
Nope.
And that's from your friendly neighborhood, Dr. McCoy.
He's the best. He's the best.
Nick DeZubner had some sort of mystery injury from getting on the field for once, and didn't practice all week and is out.
It wasn't just being shitty at football.
I think he was so bad it hurt him. It physically hurt him.
It hurt my vision, so I'm not surprised.
Much more concerning, Brandon Flowers is still out for a 3rd week in a row with a concussion. He has not practiced in 3 full weeks. This is his 4th concussion, I think we decided. He's had 1 each of his years with the Chargers. So it's really scary for him. I'm glad that the team is being cautious, but in the meantime, with Verrett gone too now, the Chargers are trotting out basically cornerback 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? Because Mager's hurt
with
too.
Mager out, yeah.
So we'll skip down a little bit. Mager's questionable, and he was full on Friday. So you're trotting out cornerback 3, cornerback 4 is hurt, and then cornerback 5 and a newly promoted cornerback 6 in what was his name?
Trevor Williams.
That's right. Yeah, I kept thinking Tyrell in my head.
Well, yeah, you got Pierre Desir, who's only been with the team now
for 2 weeks.
I guess it's been about a month or so for Desir, but you have Desir coming in, who had limited snaps with the Chargers. I think it's at 22 snaps right now.
Yeah.
And then you have Mager possibly being out depending on what his status is. Trevor Williams, and then Steve Williams, who they brought back. So you have him back too. Yeah. So you do have those guys there. So at least a few guys who know the system, but are not much to speak of talent-wise. So luckily, Hayward, who's been one of the best, if not top 3 corners of the season so far, he's been just tremendous. Not only with the picks, but just he's been shutting out guys. And depending on how much stock you take in Pro Football Focus, he's the number 2 ranked guy there. So
yeah, he's been doing really well. He's definitely been a bright spot, even since preseason. So that's been good to see. And I'm glad at least one serviceable corner is still healthy.
Need someone to cover Crabtree.
Yeah. Oh man, that's gonna be rough there. Moving on, we got Orlando Franklin, who like Orlando Franklin. I mean, sorry.
Done that?
Yeah, like Barksdale was a full participant at the end of the week. So we basically the only starting offensive linemen that aren't on here are DJ Fluker and Matt Slauson. And Matt Slauson doesn't strike me as the type who would ever let himself get put on the injury report.
And thank goodness for Slauson too. So
yeah. Oh man, let's talk about that real quick about how Slauson got penalized. With Cameron Jordan trying to rip Rivers' head off after the play. Yeah. Oh man. I loved Slauson's answer when they asked him about it. Like, did you just lose your mind? Like, what happened? He was like, no, I knew exactly what I was doing. I saw something I didn't like, and I made it stop.
Yep, and I don't think a single Charger fan would be upset with what he did. I think he was completely justified, and that not being a flag is on the Saints is terrible. I cannot believe that.
Yeah, even if you give them the benefit of the doubt and say, "Oh yeah, like we didn't see it in game speed," for them to not go back and review it and fine him after the fact, like they've done to numerous players, it's pretty ridiculous by the league.
He didn't get fined?
No, I didn't see a fine for it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty inexcusable.
Yeah, that it is.
But back to the injuries. Good news: Antonio Gates practiced this week. He was a full participant on Friday. He's listed as questionable. I still think he gets less snaps than Henry this week because Henry is fully healthy, and they'll probably want to bring Gates back on slow. Plus, it's painfully obvious how terrible Gates is at blocking at this point with how Sean McGrath and Henry have been blocking. I think Henry probably continues to get the bulk of the tight end snaps.
I don't think you'll see a single game this year that Gates has more snaps than Hunter Henry injury, not being a part of that question. I don't think you'll see a single game that way. I think that Hunter Henry's earned that spot, and not only his catching ability, which is tremendous, but his blocking, which is one of the better tight ends in the league blocking at this point. So there's no reason to not have him have more snaps than every other tight end on the roster. So
yep,
yeah, love Gates, nothing against him, but
right.
Yeah,
he's just not the best option right now. He's not the best option of the three. So, yeah. Chris Harrison had a groin injury. He's a full participant Thursday and Friday after being limited on Wednesday, and he's not listed, so he's good to go.
He's limited in general anyway, so
yeah. We won't get into that. I thought he should have been benched the second he yelled at that official after getting beat like a rented mule.
That was terrible.
That was awful. I don't know I don't even think he got fined for that either. The fine department at the NFL is missing a lot of stuff right now.
They're focusing on other people, I guess. But
yeah, they're too busy. They're too busy penalizing Antonio Brown for too many thrusts.
I love that celebration.
2 pumps. 2 pumps.
Oh man.
So Craig Mager, as we said, his shoulder.
You good?
Yeah. My dog just tried to bust in here. The doors to this room don't close. It's not like normal doors. They're like these like stupid French door things that just don't latch into each other. So I had like a little barrier up against it, and my dog hears me in here and just like pushed on the doors and knocked the barrier over.
Nice. Is it for San Diego for the injuries? Because there's a lot of them.
But wait, there's more. So because that they didn't IR Verrett till the end of the week, he actually appears on the injury report as did not participate, and he's out. Joshua Perry.
He is officially on the IR now, though. So
yes, he is on the IR now. So he's not going to be on any future injury reports. Joshua Perry and Denzel Perryman. So we have 3 inside linebackers hurt, and 1 on the IR.
Wonderful.
Things are going great.
So why we got Corey Toomer, or whatever his name is.
And what's especially scary here is Denzel Perryman is listed as questionable, but he didn't practice Thursday or Friday. So the Chargers might be starting Nick DeZubner and Joshua Perry at inside.
No, DeZubner's out.
Oh, that's right. He is.
Yeah.
So it'll be Josh Perry and Brown because I forgot Jatavis is not hurt.
Yes.
So it'll be Jatavis Brown and Joshua Perry, and the Chargers' middle of the draft will be entirely in the game. We'll see Chris Watt. We'll see
Derek
Watt. We'll see Drew Kaiser, and we'll see Perry and Brown.
Fantastic.
It's good to see the back end of the draft producing people on the field since the Chargers have almost no combined snaps from. You've got Hunter. If you take Hunter Henry out too, Bosa has 0
Turk
snaps.
And Bosa.
Turk has 0 snaps.
I don't think Turk's been active yet, has he?
No, he's been active every single week, even when they were even when everyone was hurt, he was the only one that they
last
didn't
week.
activate. Yeah.
Yeah. What about the Raiders' injury situation? How are they looking?
So the Raiders, they have Nate Allen at safety, who's out with a quad injury. Austin Howard has an ankle injury at tackle, offensive tackle. He's listed as questionable, and he was limited all week. Ricky Tywin Jones has a knee, and he was limited all week and is questionable. Matt McCants, another tackle, had a knee injury, and he was limited all week. Latavius Murray is out, which is sort of helpful that they have 2 running backs out, including the starter.
Yeah, it means the undrafted rookies are starting running back now. I believe he's undrafted in DeAndre Washington. So
Yep. And he's kind of flashed, but he, like we said, he's a rookie from a small school. Malcolm Smith has a quad injury. He's questionable. Clive Walt. Go ahead.
He hasn't been great this year anyway, actually. So Malcolm Smith, I'm not really worried about even if he does play. He hasn't lived up to his contract yet. So
yeah. Clive Wofford, he's a rookie this year, right? He's the tight end out of Miami, or was that last year?
I think he was rookie last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got a knee injury and is questionable. And then Manelik Watson at tackle is out.
Yeah, so that's 2 right tackles, and Austin Howard and Menelik Watson, who are either questionable or out. So Fidel Alexander might actually be a starter for them, and he's not good either.
Yeah.
So that right tackle is definitely a spot that you want to watch if you're a Charger fan, hoping that they can get any kind of pressure at all. Because the rest of the Oakland offensive line, you're not going to get much there. It's very, very good.
Which will be good for getting Joey Bosa some confidence and getting him up to speed, because that's probably where he'll be playing opposite of Corey Liuget.
Definitely.
And so that brings us to the end of injuries. So when the Chargers are on offense, like we said, Antonio Gates is back this week. So that'll be interesting to watch how that plays out as far as how he's used and how he's rotated in with the other 2.
Gates?
Yeah,
definitely. I think that you'll definitely see less snaps out of McGrath unless you're in the big package, which I don't know if they'll be in a whole lot. But you're going to definitely see Gates, and if he's active, you'll see him kind of peppered in here and there. I don't expect him to get a ton of snaps, maybe in the 15 to 20 range, but you're going to have Hunter Henry getting most or the majority of the snaps there. And really, they don't have much to speak of, them being Oakland. At inside linebacker, even if Malcolm Smith is healthy. The other one is Ben Heaney, who I know a lot of Charger fans liked a couple years ago, but he's not been great. So that the middle of the field could be a big area to attack if you're going to be attacking anything. And that definitely could be an area where Hunter Henry has a lot of success there. So
yeah, I think it'll be, rinse and repeat, like has been the story the rest of the year, that the middle of the field for the tight ends and the running backs, and even like Tyrell Williams has been doing well on those crossing patterns, but the middle of the field is where both of the teams are going to do really well this week. And unfortunately for the Chargers, it might be harder to minimize the Raiders doing well on the outside as well. I mean, because they've got a lot of good weapons on the outside, and Derek Carr's pretty much a stud. And now they have Casey Hayward and a bunch of average at best players.
Yeah. One thing to watch out for, I'd say, though, is running the ball against Oakland. They've had a pretty bad rushing defense, actually. Teams going against them have averaged over 5 yards per rush. They're actually the worst in the league in allowing yards in the running game. So that this could be a game where if they decide to go run heavy, you could possibly see Melvin Gordon get that yards per attempt up, especially over the last 2 weeks. So that'd be something I'd watch for. But also, Oakland's given up one of the highest number of passing yards against any other team. Also, their defense hasn't been great, in spite of Emerson being one of the best corners in the league right now. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting to see that. People are averaging almost 8 yards per attempt against Oakland, which is pretty high. They've allowed over 1,300 passing yards against them, which San Diego's allowed over 1,100, and they're, I think, 7th worst in the league. But Oakland's allowed over 1,300. They're 2nd worst. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean,
a lot of success there.
Yeah. It'll be a good. I mean, as bad as the team has been, I don't think the offense hasn't been bad. They've just made a couple of mistakes. Rivers making a couple bad reads here and there, and one of those leading to him fumbling the ball. And then the fumbles from everybody else have just been really poorly timed. Well, I mean, it's not like they can time it out ahead of time, but it's been bad timing on all of those mistakes, and it's just put them in unwinnable positions.
For sure. Another thing to kind of watch out for, speaking of the passing game, would be Emerson. I know he's been a really, really good corner, but the one thing that you can kind of attack him on is a double move or possibly speed going deep. His entire college career, I can't remember the statistic exactly, but he was burned for deep balls at one of the higher rates of any corner his draft year.
Okay.
So going in speed could possibly help in Tyrell and Benjamin. So that might be something you look at for attacking him.
Sure.
But yeah, I think the offense is going to find success as they have all year.
Yeah.
It's just not making mistakes, like you mentioned, in those key moments,
Right. Yeah, I think if they clean up some mistakes, they can put up a ton of points. It's just the thing that's always going to kill them is untimely mistakes and then the defense. So, I mean, I think going forward, pretty much if you're a fantasy player, start anyone on the Chargers offense and anyone on the offense of the team the Chargers are playing.
Absolutely.
That's the best strategy moving forward.
Basically. How are you? How much are you concerned with Mac? I know he only has 1 sack this year, but how much consideration do you give towards chipping Mac or doing something against him?
I think you got to do a lot against Mac because he's going to be coming from Dunlap's side, and Dunlap hasn't been great, and he's not going to be 100%. And then if Dunlap winds up going out again, you've got Chris Hairston, who is Chris Hairston.
He's great.
So I think you have to send help. You have to send help to Mac's side the whole day.
Absolutely. I agree completely. I think you're going to see Henry and Gordon, who Gordon's actually been pretty good at pass blocking this year.
He has, but he's missed a couple chips like that where he's going out for a pass and should have rubbed the guy and didn't. And so
a big one being that fumble too.
Yeah. So it's going to be important that he, makes sure that is corrected. He said his fumble was due to lack of concentration. Well, and those blocking mistakes are also due to lack of concentration. So he needs to, hopefully he bounces back and doesn't lose confidence, kind of like he did last year, and can right the ship before it gets worse.
Agreed. Again, I'm not sure how much stock you want to put into PFF. It's just a tool. It's not something to live by. But currently, he is the third best pass blocking running back in the league. It is only on 18 attempts per their numbers. But that also doesn't take into account the times in which he didn't stay to pass block when he probably should have, like you were mentioning. So that could be where that stat is a bit skewed. Again, it's just a tool. But yeah, one of the notes I had kind of written down was Mac only has 1 sack, but he's only 1 game against Chris Harrison away from being having 5. So you have to chip him constantly because he's a threat no matter what. No matter what his sack stat is, he's a threat. So
yeah. And then when the Chargers, did you have anything else about the offense?
No, not right now.
Yeah.
No, just I think they're going to have success. It's again just kind of keeping those boneheaded mistakes and ill-timed mistakes out of the game. You have to really cut those back, and whether that's coaching or just players screwing up at the worst time, I don't know, but you have to limit those because that's what's killing them right now.
Yep. And just the correcting the mistakes is something that it has to carry over to both sides of the ball because as we transition to defense, still one of the biggest problems has been, again, tackling. It's not showing any improvement no matter who's on the field.
Agreed. I noticed early on in the year, I know we're still early overall, but noticing Hayward being pretty good in getting the tackles as far as corners go. And Jatavis Brown's is really good at getting to the tackle point. It's just he has missed a few tackles going through it. Perryman surprisingly missed some tackles too this year. So again, I don't know if that's on the team's preparation or whatever it is, but they're definitely missing tackles more so than normal, which as a Charger fan we're familiar with missed tackles. So
yeah, it's kind of disappointing to see that hasn't been corrected. I mean, they harp on it. Even they admit it. It's just like the other week when they admitted before the Colts game that we have to match the Colts intensity if we're going to win this game, and then they didn't. They've been saying tackling has, every time McCoy gets up there on Monday, they're like, on defense, what do you think was one of the biggest problems? And he's like, well, we didn't tackle great today. We'll get it corrected though, and nothing ever happens. And so basically at this point, with how many people are injured and getting some new people on the field, I'm going to be watching for improvements in the tackling as new bodies get on the field.
Absolutely, some hungry players, trying to fight for those snaps, trying to fight for playing time. Maybe they are gonna, come up. I don't know. One little thing on what you said though, maybe this is more just kind of nitpicking on words, and fans love to bicker about words, but constantly having to try and match other teams' intensity isn't that kind of a problem? Like, shouldn't your intensity be already kind of there, or shouldn't you be exceeding their intensity? I don't know. I know it's just words, but I agree. I hear him say that, and it's like that's kind of like you're setting yourself up for failure right away. But yeah, no, that's probably just more on the word thing. But as far as the defense goes, I'm definitely concerned about missing Brett and Flowers, having only Hayward as being the only really good corner on the field, at least proven corner on the field, going against Cooper, Crabtree. What's the other? Seth Roberts, I think, is their third guy.
I think he's been getting a lot of snaps.
Yeah, like going against guys like that, like that's definitely concerning. You got to hope that Desir Williams, Hayward, and if Maker's going to play are ready for that, because that could be a recipe for a really ugly game.
Yeah, and especially with how bad the pass rush has been, it's going to be really important for the pass rush to improve if they're going to be able to overcome all of these losses and basically downgrade in talent across the secondary.
Absolutely, San Diego hasn't had much success in getting pressure against most teams, let alone one with this good of an offensive line. It could be a very tough outing for them, unless they can get some pressure on that right tackle, because that's really, like I said earlier, the only soft spot in that offensive line at all is that right tackle. Otherwise, you have Gabe Jackson, who's a monster. Most people loved him in the draft. You have Rodney Hudson at center. You have the left guard Osamele, who's like the highest paid guard in the league, and you have Penn, who's been playing out of his mind, better than he ever was in Tampa Bay. Yeah. So it's tough on that offensive line. Like, they have a very good team. I know as a Chargers fan, it's hard to say that, but they have a very good team down there, or up there in Oakland.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely one of the growing younger talents in the league, and I mean it'd pretty much be lying to not admit that. And it's going to be really hard for the Chargers defense to keep up with the talent of their and athleticism of their offense.
For sure. Other than Crabtree, who do you see as being the biggest threat to the defense? Because with the running back being out, you're going to have DeAndre Washington, who has flashed, but he is a rookie. Not much of a tight end to speak of. But who do you see as that threat being other than Crabtree? Because I'm imagining they're going to have Hayward matching up against Crabtree the entire game. Hopefully he can kind of counteract that a little bit. But who do you see as being a big threat?
Well, I think the biggest thing that they got to be concerned with is Carr. I mean, the Chargers haven't had great results against most mobile quarterbacks. And with how mobile Derek Carr is and how good his arm is outside the pocket, I think their biggest concern is just going to be figuring out what to do with Derek Carr.
Absolutely. One of the things that I think Verrett really brought to that defensive back group was the speed. Steve Williams, luckily, is the faster guy, but covering speed is going to be a question mark. Carr has one of the deepest arms in the entire league. So if they ever were to actually unleash that could be a problem, because Hayward is known for having lost a step and a half or so since his injury. Yes, he's a great corner, but he doesn't have that long speed. So that's something I'm really concerned with going into this game is the deep ball. And one thing that Carr loves doing, if you watch a lot of him, and I'm a Fresno State guy, I watch him all the time, he loves attacking the team's best corner. He does that frequently. If you ever watch him play against Seattle, he threw against Sherman repeatedly and had a lot of success against him. So I could see him challenging Hayward. Now, that does open up the possibility for Hayward getting a pick or two, as he has done this year. So you might see him get some picks, but you're also going to see Carr not shy away from anyone. If Brett was in this game, he'd throw at Brett. I guarantee it. I mean, we all saw it.
Yeah, he did it. That's how he got his strike, and how he ended that game against the Raiders.
Yeah, with his hand up.
Yep, that was a throw that never should have been made in the first place.
I agree completely. Carr is an amazing talent, but he is not shy from making some crazy, dumb decisions sometimes. So
yeah, he's a gunslinger.
Absolutely. A lot of people called him Baby Rogers coming out of college, and that's kind of what he is. So
yeah. So really the best the thing to watch on defense is it's all going to come down to everyone's going to have eyes on Bosa. That's with how bad, like, I don't think anybody realistically is going into this game thinking we're going to win. So that the Chargers are going to win. So you might as well, start looking towards the future. And I'd got to think that the only thing really worth watching on defense this week is going to be Joey Bosa.
Absolutely. Well, I disagree a little bit. I agree with the premise, but I think that you really want to see a lot of Jatavis Brown as well. I think that's someone that is getting a lot of talk, not only amongst Charger fans, but for anyone that likes Draft Breakdown. They put out a podcast every week, and they were talking about possible Defensive Rookie of the Year for the AFC, and one of the three guys they mentioned was Jatavis Brown. People are noticing how good he's played. He's someone who's definitely getting a little bit more notoriety as he's performing, and he's performing at a very high level. I think he's the second highest rated guy on PFF for Chargers defense right now. Or no, he might be third actually, but he's performing incredibly high at a high level. So seeing him and Bosa, Cron Reed, who's been a big surprise for a lot of fans. Seeing him play, seeing if he's healthy, seeing how much play he gets. Watching Mebane, who's played at a high level this year. So there are guys to watch, but
what was Karan Reed? Was he a 1 year signing?
I think they picked him up on waivers. So I think they just keep his existing contract. I will look that up in just a second, though.
Okay, yeah, because it'll be interesting to see at the end of the season if that is a 1 year contract with how well he's been playing. Man, the Chargers are going to have an expensive decision on their hands.
Oh, for Karan Reed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's for more than just the 1 year, but let's see here. He is signed through 2017. He is.
Okay, cool.
So it's $600,000 this year, $690,000 next year. So he's again another cheap option. He'll definitely be on the roster. So
yeah, well done.
he's been very solid.
So do you have any bold predictions for this week?
I have two, one for offense, one for defense. I don't know how bold they are. Well, Melvin's is pretty well. I guess they're not bad. I think Desir is going to get a pick this week. I think that Carr is going to be throwing left and right and all over this defense. I think Desir is going to come up with a pick, probably something that's tipped, not necessarily right to him, but whatever, he gets a pick. And I have Melvin getting over 5 yards per carry. I think he's going to have a big game. Kind of diving into some of the statistics on this defense and watching some of the games. Oakland is not very good against the run, especially with what's his name? I forgot his name. The Florida State guy they had. Defensive lineman. His name's on my mind.
Why is that not Goldman?
Yes, yeah. With Goldman being out for the year and their inside guys not playing up to their name. I mean, Daniel Williams has been a big letdown since they got him from Arizona. Ellis, Jelly. People love him, but he hasn't been very, very good for them the last 2 years. So their defensive line is not that great. Their front seven overall is getting pressure, but their defensive line is not the greatest.
And it was Mario Edwards is the Florida State guy we were thinking about.
Thank you. Yeah, Mario Edwards. Mario Edwards, yeah. They're definitely missing him because that defensive line was a different story last year, but without him, it's not been good.
Yep.
So I think you'll see Melvin get about 5 yards per carry, and I think he'll get his average back to where it should be at around the 4 level. So.
All right. Yeah, I think those are both decently bold.
Yeah, I don't really go more bold than that, but it's all right.
So I think in the spirit of positivity, I'm going to say Joey Bosa gets 2 sacks in his first appearance for the Chargers.
Damn.
I'm going bold this week. I've been to GABF 2 days in a row. I'm feeling pretty bold.
It's the beer. It's the beer.
It is the beer. It's all of the beer. By the way, if there are any Chargers fans who are watching this, that live in Tennessee, if you haven't been to Tailgate Beer, you are missing out. They have an amazing peanut butter milk stout. So if anyone watches this who lives in Tennessee, you should go to Tailgate Beer. They're awesome. On offense, back to the bold prediction. On offense, I think Melvin Gordon gets 2 touchdowns again, and I think he gets 1 on the ground and he catches 1.
Nice. Okay, those are both pretty good. Pretty good, especially that Bosa one. That's whew.
Yeah, that's feeling bold.
Yeah, it is.
The only other thing I wanted to mention is I think it'll be interesting this week to see if Travis Benjamin has finally been put on a short leash as far as punt returns. And if the first sign of a mistake, they switch him out this week.
Yeah, especially with someone like McCluster back there. I mean, you might as well give it a shot. I don't know. I agree. I definitely agree with that one.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch.
Any other note before we get to the game prediction?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about.
Sounds good. So who do you have winning this game?
So I have the Raiders winning this game.
Boo!
I'm sorry. I just until the Chargers can put together 2 wins in a row, I'm not going to be able to trust them. And I don't know if that'll happen again for the rest of the year. But in Oakland, with all of the injuries that the Chargers have, McCoy's still the head coach. I don't see this game going well for the Chargers. I think they probably keep up early because the offense does so well, and then I think after halftime, the Raiders make the right adjustment and the Chargers make the wrong adjustment, and they start shutting the Chargers down in the second half.
What do you have the score as?
I want to say that I said like 27-14 Raiders.
Okay.
But I think they might score more than that.
Oh, that was on the
Raiders.
On the staff picks.
Staff picks. And I still feel confident about that. I think the Raiders score at least 14 points more than the Chargers. I think this is their first legitimate loss that they don't lose the game in the last 5 minutes.
Okay. So you think it's gonna be far before that where they get down?
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they have the lead for long, if at all, this game.
Okay, I'm looking on the staff one here. I actually don't see you on it. So
did he not put mine on there? Okay, so that's basically what I said.
So you can make it up whatever you want.
Well, no, that's what I said. Was I think the Chargers lose and
27-14. Did you say 27-14?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right. I again forgot to get my staff prediction in. So, yeah. So my game prediction, I'm actually going to have 37-24 with Oakland winning. So,
okay.
Yeah. And you kind of took all of what I was going to say. That they're going to be close there until about halftime. And then I think Oakland's going to pull away a little bit. So we both have a 13-point margin of loss there. So we both have the same kind of idea. I think there's going to be more offense in this game than offensive production, I think, than you have. But yeah, we both have 13-point loss for San Diego to go 1-4. Now, One big question is, do you think this is enough to get McCoy fired?
I don't. I think they probably hold on. I don't think they could. I think they might hold on until the bye week. I think they might give him that long.
Okay. So do you think he gets fired during the season?
I think he does.
Okay.
I think that it's going to be at the point where people are going to be demanding a change, and the situation itself will demand a change. And so that's the only easy change available to the Chargers that, would draw a good PR move. I mean, if they traded Rivers or anything like that to try and do something, it wouldn't work. The only change they can make and come out looking like they did the right thing is if they fire McCoy.
And I think that's pretty clearly the right thing to do at this point. So
yeah,
I agree. I think he will get fired during the season. Like we discussed at the opening, I think there is that concern about what that entails for the future of the Chargers and their interim head coach, and do they keep them on and things like that. But I think those are questions I'd rather just get to when we get to them. I think that we need to, number one thing is cut cut McCoy loose. I think that's the clear first step we need to take to righten the ship. So,
yeah. So one last thing before we go, the Chargers lose out the season, go 1-15. Who are you picking for the Chargers at number 1 overall to hold out?
Oh man, well the holdout's a given, so that's not part of the discussion. Because the precedent and all that fun stuff they like to create out of fucking nowhere. But that's another story. Bolt up. But no, I'm not entirely sure at this point who they would take. I'm not deep enough into prospects to say with any kind of certainty, but I know Myles Garrett's clearly the one that all the fans want. There is no offensive tackle worth taking. The consensus is no offensive tackle worth taking in the top 5 to 7, possibly even top 10. Especially with all the stuff coming out about the Alabama left tackle. My goodness. So, I'm not entirely sure on who they would take. Myles Garrett's the easy choice, I'd say. But as I say every single week, I know a lot of fans don't know that, but every single week I say that Jabril Peppers needs to be a Charger somehow. So I'll say it here. I say it every week. So Jabril Peppers needs to be a Charger. I don't give a shit how that happens. Just make him a Charger.
I think if the Chargers do finish out, 4-12 or 5-11, I think that's a pretty accurate. A pretty realistic range for Jabril Peppers to be a Charger. So if they can accidentally win a couple more games, you might get your wish.
Not lose it within 2 minutes to go. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say before we get off, I forgot because I was watching the Google Chat feed and not the YouTube feed. I forgot about questions. So Sap Bebo asks, have you been keeping an eye on players the Chargers should draft? Garbage for Garrett. So kind of talked about that. Yeah, Myles Garrett is definitely he'd be the best use of that pick. But the Chargers don't always, make the best use of their pick.
And mind you, it's October. There's a long time to go in the college season and in the pro season, and who knows what's going to happen. But as of right now, with where everyone's draft stock, if you believe in that, is Myles Garrett would be the choice at number 1 if San Diego were to have that pick. I think.
Yep.
So, especially with the uncertainty of Melvin Ingram, do they keep him on? Do they not? There's no other pass rusher. Even if you do keep him on, I mean, there's a Tauchu, but they clearly don't like him for some reason. So,
right.
Yeah.
So then the night he also asks, what do you think of LT's comments saying the Chargers should trade Rivers?
You want me to tackle this one first?
Yeah, you can go ahead and go first.
Okay. I get where he's coming from with this. And just by going off of what I believe to be the good place it's coming from, I agree in the fact that it does suck to see Rivers having his entire career possibly, he still has a few years left, of course, but possibly going without any kind of ring or even a Super Bowl appearance. That would suck to see. I mean, one of the better quarterbacks we've ever seen, in the NFL, top 10, top whatever, to never even have that opportunity would suck to see. So as a football fan, it would be great to see him have that opportunity with a team. I prefer it to be with the Chargers, clearly. So I get where that's coming from. And you obviously, in the lane he's in right now, he's not in the lane of former Charger. He's in the lane of media person. So he has to say things and come up with things that make headlines. Similar to his, if we had Breeze in 2006 and whatever. That's his job right now, is to make those statements. Charger fans may or may not like them, but that's his job. So to attack him or things like that, whatever. So I get the premise and I get the merit of what he's saying, and to a point I agree with it. But as a Charger fan, hell no, you want to keep Rivers.
Right.
So yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I pretty much feel the same way. I mean, I hate for him to be another Dan Marino that was excellent his whole career and never get a ring.
And his best shot was early in his career, just like Rivers.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm the same kind of way. I mean, I'd love for the best for Rivers, but I don't think it I don't trust Telesco to pull it off properly, honestly.
We got a 4th-round pick.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I got 2 extra 4th-round picks this year. I did a great job.
Don't worry, though.
We love those 4th-round picks.
We'll trade the 4th-rounders, though, to move up 3 spots
for future
5th-rounders. I was going to go with the route of taking an overrated linebacker. But, I actually like Tauchu, so let me just backtrack a little bit on that one. So. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, so we got another question from Gabe True asking, when will Tyrell start playing better? Yeah, his drops are starting to get slightly frustrating.
He had one again this week, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did, and he needs to just. I think it'll come with time. I think it'll probably be by the end of the season. You'll see him start to polish things off a little better, but I think he's going to continue to be kind of a splash player that he's going to contribute 1 maybe 2 big plays a game, but be pretty quiet apart from that.
And I think that fans need to kind of maybe pump the brakes a little bit, and we're all guilty of this. Most Charger fans, especially those that comment frequently about the Chargers on Twitter or on BFTB or wherever you do it, and kind of anointing him as being the next big thing. And yeah, he very well could be, but everyone has to remember that it took Malcolm Floyd a number of years to break into that role. He didn't do it his second year. Tyrell's coming in. It's only his second year undrafted out of a smaller college, and he is playing really well for what he is. And I actually made a note during the game last week that I forgot to mention earlier, was that Tyrell, I think, actually looked pretty good minus the 1 drop. And there's also a bit of a miscommunication play with him and Rivers. And Rivers just jumped down his neck. And whether that was his fault or Rivers' fault, we don't know. I think Rivers has a bit of a history of blaming the other player, whether it's his fault or not. That's going back to the LT days and early Gates days. He would freak out on them, even if it looked as though that was just a mistake by Rivers. So the big thing, though, I think, was that he went right back to Tyrell the very next play and got that first down.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It was a great move of his to, be that frustrated and be that, he did yell at him when he probably shouldn't have screamed at him like that. But we all know how energetic Philip Rivers gets.
That's him.
It's just who he is. And it showed a lot that, that's just how Rivers is when he turned around and threw it right back to him the next play.
Exactly. So I think that you need to kind of temper your expectations a little bit on him. I think that we're all kind of guilty of this and anointing him a bit quickly, but he is very promising and he does a lot of very good things. Has he had some drops? Yes. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, he has 57% catch rate of his targets, which is not good. But at the same time, it's the same percent catch rate that Inman's having, who's getting more snaps and has been with the team longer. And he's much older. I think it's like 5 years older than he is too, because Inman had some time, I think, in Canada or something like that. So I would just pump the brakes a little bit, anointing him, but also know that he's going to have some stumbles. And he was vaulted into this role unexpectedly with Stevie and Keenan going down. He wasn't expected to be this in the start of the season. Has he had the drops? Yes. And I'm sure he'll work on that, but he's been promising for what we should have expected out of him.
Yep. All right. So I think that pretty much does it for this week. I think we're going to be discussing another loss next week, but I think it's getting close to that time where something's going to give either way.
Bolt up, Stanley. Bolt up. Sorry.
I love this team, but
I do too.
part of loving something is wanting to try and make it better. And
exactly.
You're not going to make me feel bad for wanting something to change. So I'm Matt Stanley at BoltFan on Denver.
Stebbins at DStebbs on Twitter.
And this has been your Week 5 preview. Thanks for tuning in.